tell me when it goes. Oh, I need to hit Instagram.
Okay, Facebook on.
And I'm live on Instagram. All right. Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Here for another Dad University live show. It's going to be an exciting one today because we just had Father's Day. What else? Actually, that's pretty much it. The fact that we had Father's Day was pretty cool. Hey there, Raul. Good to see you. We're going to let some people come on. If you've got any questions, please feel free to throw them down there. Also, let me know you're on. Say hello. Where are you from? Raul, where are you joining us from? Love to hear where people are from and what they're doing. Sorry, I'm looking at multiple places. I always have this. Gavin, good to see you back. Steve, good to see you. If you guys got questions, if it's been LA, Raul's out of LA. Cool, not too far. Victorville, Steve, lots of Californians. It's good to see. And it's surprising because I guess we're on the Pacific time, so it's kind of early. Gavin, you're in Philadelphia. That's cool. Pittston. Sorry, Pittston, PA. Pennsylvania. I'm like, my brain's not working. South Dakota, right on. The Inspired Legacy. Good to see you. Good to see you guys on. Wanted to find out what did everyone do for Father's Day? I mean, this is, we just had Father's Day. As you're coming in, tell me, what did you do? Did you have a good Father's Day? It was great. I did do an Instagram post on it. I don't do a lot of them, but I got to go camping with my son. I participate with a YMCA, both my son and my daughter, and we got to go, many of you may not know the island of Catalina. It's right off Southern California. We got to go camping, and it is just a majestic scene. And we camp right on top of this hill. I sent, it was cloudy, so you couldn't see it as much. But man, was it cool. And we go with this group, and it's all dads and their sons. And I haven't been there that camp out with my daughter, but we take a boat across, and you just get to do this with your kid, and it's really, really cool. So we get to spend the whole weekend there. So we were done on Father's Day on Sunday. And then Actadad, Mark, how are you? Good to see you. And then visited my dad. My dad is in a memory care facility, so dealing with that. And got to stop by, said hello, and then came home and had dinner with my family, which was great. It was nice. And so it's everybody's Father's Days are different, and it's good to be celebrated that one day a year that we get. But we should take advantage of it. Some people like to do stuff. Other people like to do nothing. I know with Mother's Day, at least for my wife, and many of them, with many women, they like to do nothing. They'd rather just be left alone and have a spa day or something relaxing rather than making a big hubbub about it. So, Gavin went to church, got a tactical baby gear diaper bag. Awesome. That is awesome. And going to be the coolest dad on the block. That's a good gift. Tactical baby gear bag. That's cool. I'd love to see that. Send a picture of that to us. I'd love to see what that looks like. Steve hung out with dads and kids. Went on a bike ride. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, being outside is great. I feel like I work quite a bit, and I work under we're under lights right now, but fluorescent lights. And one of the things I think I'm lacking is vitamin D, it from being outside. And it's funny, it's a little bit, what's the word? I can't think of it. It's, it's kind of strange, I guess, that, I live very close to the beach. We're in Southern California here in San Diego, and just the outdoors is just part of everyone's lifestyle, but I don't get to hang out, or I shouldn't say I don't get to. I don't make it a priority to be outside as much as I should. And so these camping trips are great because I come back feeling, better than when I left. And so it gives me a chance to be outside, get some vitamin D. And, I think sometimes when you're feeling down, sometimes it's just being outside can make you feel better. So I also saw something over the weekend that was kind of it was sent to me, a video on Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if anybody else caught this, but it kind of bothered me. They showed kind of, why dads get a bad rap or sort of why dads aren't thought of maybe as highly as moms, or so. I forget the context of it, but basically they were showing all these dads that didn't know information about their kids, and I'm sure obviously it's edited in that way, and there's plenty of dads that do know this information, but they were showing like the dads not knowing the kid's birthday or not knowing what teachers the child had, and it's just again, it is showing this narrative that dads are not functional, stupid, not involved, not paying attention, and it's just not the case. And all of you are examples of that are showing that that's not the case, where you're showing up, you're being involved, you're taking an active role, and that's something that I think that needs to be celebrated more. And so it was, there's some humor in it and there's some funniness about it, but I'll tell you, I'll be honest, it really actually bothered me, that they show this, and they do it for laughs, and they do it for obviously the context of it being Father's Day, but showing dad as the goof and showing dad as the dumb guy, it's just, I'm kind of over it. So I really think that's what we're trying to do, is change that narrative and change it by being who we are, and that's being active, and it's being involved, and it's caring about being a dad. So sorry if I'm looking over here, there's chats going on and words going on, so it's not like I'm not paying attention. I just am trying to get it all together. And yeah, Mark, agree with you. Medicine, nature is medicine, and so it's definitely important. We have to continue on and band together to do that. So that's something that I think we're going to all try to do. So any other questions? There's some topics. Let's see what else we could talk about. I'm trying to remember what my video coming out this Thursday is. Wes, do you remember?
Just tips.
Right, we've got another new parenting tips video. I'll tell you, it's not that it all keeps rolling into one, but people start asking me questions, and I forget. I think I just booked a podcast tomorrow. They had just contacted me, and I will see if that comes out. I don't want to say it yet, because if I don't, I don't want to promote it and then not be on it. So, but maybe I can let you know next week of what I did. So, what else for Father's Day? South Dakota, I think. Oh, Inspired Legacy are from South Dakota. Cool. No, this is good. We've got some people from LA. It's good stuff. It's hard to read and talk at the same time. Did anybody ever try to do that? I'm trying. But also, we can talk about this dad. I think, one of the things that we are trying to do is change expectations. And that's not something that happens overnight. We're trying to change the expectations of what people think that dads are or supposed to be. And, the thing about it is that it's also dads that are producing this. It's funny. I mean, like Jimmy Kimmel, I understand, he's a comedian, but he's the one producing this, and for some reason I'm thinking that it's funny. I'm totally okay with poking fun at myself, but I think when I don't know, sometimes it goes too far. What's that?
Is it the case
That what?
the dads don't know anything about it? I mean,
Well,
is it poking fun?
So Wesley, my assistant's a dad. No, so the question was brought up, is that the case though? Is that many dads are clueless and are stupid or are that way?
Stereotypes are built for a reason.
Yeah, you're right. The stereotypes are built for a reason, and definitely that exists. There's no question.
So it's just our job to change that.
Right.
We just got to change that.
So it's our job to change that, is what we're saying, is that it's important for us to change that narrative and be different in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good sort of a good policy to think about. Mark, really rainy in South Florida, but made giant bubbles with my daughter, brunch, and then evening with parents. Cool. Yeah, the family time is really that's what it's about, at least for me. Some people may love the gifts or may love it was funny, we were at dinner and my son leans over, my wife had gotten me a nice gift, some stuff, and my daughter made this card at school. My son turns to me and he goes, "Dad, I got you a hug," and just gives me a hug. And I said, "Well, that's not bad." He's like, "Actually, I just didn't finish your gift. We were supposed to finish it. Whatever, it's fine." It didn't matter, but it was just funny the way that he said it. He's like, "I got you a hug for Father's Day." What a deal, But there is a lot of value in that. So it's just everybody celebrates it differently. And I said, for me, it's kind of bittersweet. My father is in a memory care facility, and so he does know me, and he knows my son came with me because we were on our way back from our trip, and he's doing good. I should say he was doing really well, and then slips, and then does well again, and it slips, and it's kind of a weird when you're dealing with dementia. I don't know if other people have dealt with it, but it's certainly an up and down thing, and you're not prepared for that. I did a video about dealing with elderly or dealing with our own parents, and how that we're just not taught how to do that, and that's what's hard, is that you don't really know how to deal with it because you just haven't been there, and unless you've actually dealt with it, it's just brand new. It's kind of like childcare, or having a kid. Until you're in the middle of it, you really don't realize what to do and how to handle it and what's that all about. And I think even for my son, he's almost 11. He had not seen him in this state where he's confused and he's, may not make sense of everything that we're saying, or vice versa, what he's saying. And my son, I think, was a little surprised, even though I had mentioned it to him and I explained it and I sort of prepped him on that. I think there was still some hesitance of how to deal with it and the expectations that he may have had. And he just, he was okay, but it was weird. That's the best way to explain it. As a kid, you don't, grandpa in a certain way, and then to see him in a different way, that can be kind of hard. As hard as it even is for me, I can imagine it's even, could be even harder for him to see that difference. So anyway, it's kind of bittersweet on a Father's Day, but still got a chance to spend some time with the family, and that was good. So let's see what other topics we can, let's see. As I read, excuse my reading. One of the things too, I recently was a guest on another Facebook channel or a Facebook page, Filter Free Parents. If you're not familiar with them, go check them out. Filter Free Parents, it was great. And being a guest on there, now the audience is primarily female. And so it is interesting to have different perspectives. And we as dads have some perspectives, and then females have perspectives. So my purpose in doing that was just to mix it up a little bit, get, if there are women that want a dad's perspective, then that's something that I am happy to provide. And then also for women, getting the men more involved. For most of the men who come on here, almost all of them, they are involved. That's why you're here. you're an active dad. And so I keep on saying active. I should mention Mark with Actidad. That's another channel where we support. So appreciate that. Mark, did a podcast with him. Will be coming out soon. So visit him over at Actidad. That's a great channel. All of these guys who are doing things for dads, we want to support them and make sure that we are, that we're supporting them, and that we want to make sure that, we are involved with them, and, go to their channels, follow them, comment, share it. We want to make sure, that everybody's getting this awareness out and doing that. So also too, if there's topics that you want me to cover, I'd love to hear them in the comments. If there's topics that you want me to cover in future videos, that's something that I do read the comments. I take that to heart. I try to see what people are wanting to talk about and to review. And so if you do have anything, that would be fine, or that'd be great. So, so a week from Monday, the Active Dad podcast, and we'll promote that. We'll put it out there so that you guys can hear that. That was a good conversation, and like I said, we want to always support for anybody who's doing good for dads. What else? What else is happening? If you guys have questions, throw them in the comments. Be happy to answer. And I appreciate you guys coming on board here. Steve, Mark, Raul, Inspired Legacy. You also, too, I want to, whether you're watching this on live or you're watching it, on record, let me know the time slot and how this works for you. We've been talking about, changing time slots. Some of it is just, selfish that I do a lot of stuff already after hours, but I'd certainly, welcome if there's better times for people. And so, and I'm looking at when people are watching our videos and when they are doing things. But if there are time slots where you feel like you'd be, and this is going to be more inclined for the people who aren't here live, comment below and let me know the time slots or the times of day that you feel like you'd be more inclined to do it. I just did another live. It was 9 a.m. on a Monday, and so that's going to obviously weed people out that unless you're able to do that at work, you're not going to be going live and asking questions and doing that. Got a question from Actidad. My wife's friend said she loves her younger child more than her older. What are your thoughts on that? Well, we can all secretly have a favorite child. And typically people will say that because the child is easier, or they get along better with the child, or they relate to the child better. And most likely there's probably a reason for that. The younger child might, like I said, the younger child might be doing things more and have a spirit or a personality that is more relatable. And so what can happen is that the two children that are totally different, we sort of evaluate them the same. What I would suggest is, if the parent wants to, is that the parent should consider, re-indexing and re-categorizing how they're evaluating their children. So, to love your children in certain ways or for certain things. And so if they're not bothered by it, that might not be a problem. But I can tell you that if they're treating them differently, the kids know it, and it doesn't feel good as a child. So one of the things and this is just totally guessing because I don't have a ton of context here, but this happens where one child will often feel like the other is not as, the child doesn't feel like they feel like the other child is the favorite. And it's interesting. I have two older sisters, and if you asked us, and people have, especially our mom, who did mom like the best? All three of us say ourselves. So my mom did an excellent job in making each one of us feel as if we were very special and if we were the favorite, if you will. And I'm actually the favorite. So, and it's funny because my sisters will say the same thing, that they are the favorites. So I think when you feel like, if the woman feels like, the other child is easier to get along with or such, I would really dig into what is the problem, and they may say it's a behavior issue, it's something. So there could be a lot of reasons for that. If it doesn't bother her, that's okay, but I can tell you it's going to probably bother the kid, and they should, they might want to reevaluate how they're indexing that and how they're evaluating that, and try to see the positive and sort of focus on the positive things about the child. It's funny, when you have two children, you think, they can have distinct personalities and such, but you think that you treat them the same. They come from the same family, their upbringing's the same, and the truth is that they're not. I can tell you, I have a almost 11-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter, and to think that they're brought up exactly the same isn't true. And what I can see is that my son, being firstborn, got a lot more attention, and because he was here before his sister. And at the same time, my younger child, my daughter, is often expected to do more than he was. So we might all of a sudden I'll give you an example. We might institute something where all of a sudden they were expected to clean. And even the fact that we knew our daughter is younger and, maybe not as capable, we still treated them and say, okay, now we're going to get cleaning, and so here's your responsibilities. Well, my son at her age did not have those responsibilities. So it's not that it's a bad thing, but what you fail to realize is that you are treating them the same, but they're not the same. They might be different ages. They have different, comfort levels. They have different, communication levels, emotional intelligence levels. And so you really have to be conscious when you have more than one child about, communicating and talking and treating them in the best way that is for them. And that's something that is sometimes really hard to do because... But then you do it and you say, well, I know my son is sensitive, so I want to make sure I do this, versus, my oldest is much more independent than, the other one. Well, so those kinds of things come into play. So you want to do that. Daily Dad Grind, hello, how are you? Let us know where you're from. G2 Raider? G2 Raider. Let us know where you're from, where you're coming in from, and if you have any questions, feel free. Mark with Actadad makes a great point. Also, be sure to spend one-on-one time with them. That's something that's, it's really hard when you have multiple kids to do that. You have to make an active, effort to do that. And I know that and when my kids are one-on-one, they are just absolutely wonderful. The fights and the arguments come into play when they're together, So as an example, like I just went camping last weekend, I have a chance to be one-on-one with my child, and then my wife has a chance to be one-on-one with them too. And so those are great times, and you want to take advantage of those. So good stuff. But it's hard, siblings. Siblings are sometimes a different breed. It's a different challenge. We have done a video on sibling rivalry. We should probably do more. But one of the biggest things I like to do, here's a good tip for sibling rivalry, is that when you hear one child blaming the other child, do not jump to blame that child as well. And so I'll give you an example. I'll just use my kids as an example. My daughter is complaining that my son took her stuff. And she's complaining about it. She's yelling or whatever. the typical response, she's like, hey, you took my stuff. Blah, blah. The typical response is to then hear what she's saying and saying, hey, to my son, stop doing that to your sister. Give her back her stuff. That's not how we handle stuff in our house. What happens is if she is yelling, I might come in between them and say, hey, it sounds like this isn't working out. What's going on? And they'll say, well, you did this, and she did this, and he did this, and shit, whatever. I don't care about that part. I just like to say what's going on so that they'll stop. And then I say, I'm pretty confident that you two can work this out. So I don't assess blame. I don't assess, the cause or the result or whatever. You sort of allow them to do that on their own. And this is really important when you have siblings and you have two kids, because what happens is one of them always becomes the victim. And you do not want to create victim. And so, and typically it's the older kid picking on the younger kid or whatever. And so we do that all the time as parents, and hey, Daniel, good to see you. Yeah, it's something where, you feel like you want to blame somebody. As Daniel said, he used to blame. You want to blame somebody. And so we hear what's going on, where you took my stuff, or whatever. So then we blame the child and we say, hey, stop doing that. And we grab it or whatever, and we try to solve that problem. Well, right there at that moment, you have taught the younger child that being a victim, or that you have taught them to be a victim, and you chose or taught them that if they complain, the problem gets solved. So we have to take a step back and say, you know what? I'm not going to make you the victim. First of all, you're yelling, so you need to stop yelling. That's typically what'll be said. And then you say, hey, this doesn't seem to be working. How can you guys work this out? What can you guys do to work this out? And you allow them to work it out. So what happens is that kind of changes in that my kids know pretty well that both my wife and I are not going to solve their problems between them. They pretty much know after years of yelling at each other and fighting and doing this, they don't come to us unless it's a really big problem or somebody's hurt or something. But we will typically, and my wife, we're all on board the same way, we typically will say, I'm pretty confident that you guys can solve this. And so we did that from a very young age, and they can't really blame each other. The one kid is not getting in trouble because they did that. And I remember my parents used to say, I don't care who's at fault, you're all getting in trouble. And, that could happen too if that's what you do. But, because we have the somewhat no punishment, no reward at our house, it's not a punishment. It's, hey, you guys need to figure this out and you need to work it out. And I think as a result of that, my children get along pretty well. Granted, they're not floating on clouds. Hey, G2, just ask a question, so I want to make sure. Oh, from Colorado, new father. Congratulations. If you do have any questions, G2 or others, if you have any questions, just throw them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer those. Brand new father for 3 weeks, so you're still in the honeymoon phase. Congratulations. That's cool. That's always exciting, when you've got a brand new little one there. You're sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I can tell you it can continue to be wonderful. There's certainly challenges of fatherhood, but it's something that is very, very wonderful. So yeah, let us know what questions you have. It's interesting. Some of the questions that I get, so whether they're private or such, is somewhat tactical and rather than philosophical. A lot of people are asking tactical questions like, how do I burp the child? How do I burp the child? How do I change his diaper? How do I relieve gas? It's sort of these tactical things. And so, yeah, it's something that you've got to those are the kinds of things that you learn pretty quickly, and I know it feels overwhelming when you're first in there. You're changing your first diaper and you don't know what you're doing, or you're changing, or your son or daughter is crying because they're colicky and you don't know what to do, and that's where it is kind of scary in that sense. But it's those kinds of things get easier very quickly for me, and a lot of what this channel is about is the philosophical and the emotional and the long-term effects that we have on our children. Now, I'm not minimizing those other things. I think those things are important, but just to know about being involved and teaching your children various things, whether it be how to manage anger, or how to teaching them about emotions, teaching them about money, teaching them all kinds of things, because our job is as teachers. So we want to make sure that that's something that we're really concentrating on, is how to teach them. And I in my one of the things I have, and I have this on YouTube and on Facebook, and the videos is called the Fatherhood Formula, and basically it's 7 things that we want to make sure we do to make our kids successful. And one of them is coaching. And so instead of being a parent and it's really about discipline and such, it's really about teaching them. We want to teach them how to live in this world and how to do things. And when you start to think of yourself as a teacher and as a coach, many things that bother you or that would potentially bother you stop bothering you, because you have a different mindset. It's somebody makes a mistake, or your child makes a mistake. It's like, okay, you made a mistake. Let's fix it. How do we do it correctly the next time? So that's something that I think is important. Any other questions? If not, man, this time goes by fast. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. If you have any other questions or so, throw them on in. Be happy to answer. We'll be sure to be here next Tuesday. Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern is our current time slot. If we do change it, I'm going to have a lot of videos that will have the wrong time on it. So for right now, it's kept at that time. But yeah, let me know what you want to see and what you want to hear. What are the other things we've been. This isn't for us. Here's what I can tell you is that these videos, especially the live, well, all of the videos and all of the content, isn't about me, and it isn't about any specific person. It's really about you and what it is that you need to be a great dad, to learn, to be involved, and to be really participating in your children's lives. And so that's what I want to hear, is what is it that you need in order to be able to do that. And that's what we can supply. So when I do these lives, we do weekly lives, we do a weekly podcast, we're doing weekly instructional advice videos. It's for you and what it is that you need. So if there is something that you feel like you need, please send it along. Send it as an email, a comment, a question, message me, whatever, and I'd be happy to do that. This is part of, I allocate time because I really enjoy doing this, and it's something, granted, we get a lot of accolades. I mean, people are commenting and they're getting a lot out of it, which is the reason why we do it. It really is. So I guess in a sense that is selfish. It feels good when you're helping people and people get a lot out of it. So I want to make sure we keep that going. So if you have questions or thoughts or things that you want, let us know. So with that, I will sign off. Hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday and the rest of the week. And we will see you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. See ya.